right, so welcome to another edition of The Wealth Alchemist at KDI Wealth. Today, I've got Dennis McIntee with us.
I'm so excited to be here, Kevin. We're going to have fun.
We have fun every time we're together.
We do.
And it doesn't matter if we're working or not.
Yeah. I was talking to my wife this morning, and she said, I really love Kevin and Carrie because they really have our DNA. And I thought, that's a great way to say it.
We are kind of each other, in a sense, as far as our Colbys.
Like our Colby and a lot of the different assessments. But even in the same, there's a difference too. And
Sure.
I think it kind of comes back to unique ability type conversations.
Oh, big time.
Right? Almost what you're, because you and I can both do very similar things, but we're both passionate about
Different parts of it.
Different parts of it. Yeah. Isn't that
Yes.
fascinating?
Just before this podcast, you were talking to Mason, who's behind the camera over here.
Maybe we should put him in front of the camera.
Maybe we should.
Someday.
Okay. Right now, if I do it, he'll be upset because he's got all his gear dialed in. But
right.
But yeah, you were asking him what he loves about his business and what he loves about making video, and his nuances would be different than his buddy at ASU that sits next to him at the camera.
Yeah, and I think what's fascinating about that is that only you know what fascinates and motivates. Only you know what brings you energy. And I think a lot of times, Kevin, it's you could do this, you could do this, you could do this, and man, I could do 100 things, but only I know what gives me that ultimate energy.
Do you ever find people who don't really know what brings them energy?
Well, I think some people,
especially in your space.
Well, yeah, and especially a lot of people that are just not self-aware.
Yeah.
And I think really getting tied into the emotion of things, because emotions have wisdom to them. Emotions kind of tell me what I'm passionate about. Well, you were just talking about you have some certain team members that are a little angry, a little frustrated about some things. And, and I thought, well, that's really awesome.
Yeah.
And a lot of people say, well, I don't want angry team members. And Kevin, I think about anger just means you care.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, if you don't care, you don't have anything. I mean, you're flat.
Yeah. And so it's almost it gives you energy, and you can take that energy and you want to go create, not go complain about it.
Sure.
And so I think, I want people that are angry, but I'm not cool with outbursts of wrath and, screaming, yelling, throwing shoes.
No, it's okay to be grumpy and say, I don't like this change, or I don't like what this person did, or I don't like, but it's not okay. Mason will probably nod in agreement behind the camera again when I always say I can't tell somebody how to feel.
Yep.
But we can certainly talk about your response, the way you respond.
Yeah, and it's that response determines the outcome. And so I think the thing is, Kevin, people don't even know some of those internal drivers, that you really can control those drivers.
Well, and that's part of what you help us with. And so for folks that are watching or listening, Dennis has been a really strong influence on our team. Dennis and I both met in a group that we have been with for many, many years called Strategic Coach. Yep. Where we give Dan Sullivan a lot of credit for helping us.
And a lot of money.
We
give him a lot of money and a lot of credit.
Lots of checks over time. Carrie's a member. Shane's a member on our team. But what you've brought to us is you've come and been an outside set of eyes and ears and kind of looked at the whole team and how we interact with one another. And talk a little bit, I think, especially for our business owners that are out there that are watching, and frankly, I'm going to make sure they get this podcast because I think it's important.
Yeah.
When you're meeting with a group like ours, what's your first motivation? What's the first thing you're trying to do before you can even begin to give them counsel? What do you need to know about somebody or a group?
Well, I think the first thing really is a reality check, right, Kevin? Because when I'm emotionally connected to the issue, my focus is fuzzy, my clarity is cloudy, and it goes back to this idea that it's been said so many times, you can't read the label when you're inside the box, right, or inside the bottle. And Kevin, all of us are in the bottle of our own behavior.
Yeah.
And sometimes we need somebody else outside the bottle. The fact that I'm not emotionally connected to the situation.
Sure.
In fact, Kevin, I met with a group last week, and it was really funny because there were just a debate and almost an argument about which direction. And I said, listen, at the end of the day, I personally don't care which direction. But what I care about is you just decide.
You agree and you all run the same direction.
Right, and then just let's run.
Yeah.
But I can say that because I'm not emotionally connected.
Sure.
And I think all of us need people in our lives, because even in my business, Kevin, I have somebody that's in my life that can read the label for me and tell me things. I'm sure you have this experience sometimes. I tell you something, you go, well, heck yeah, I know that.
Yeah.
Well, and I'm like, well, just go do it.
Well, and I would imagine, I mean, you play a couple roles. Excuse me. You play a couple roles in your business. One is you're a visionary.
Yeah.
And two is you're an executor.
Yep.
And that's where we're similar. I'm an executor when it comes to meeting with certain high net worth clients and making sure they're successful as best as we can, and if they listen to our advice or not.
Right.
And then additionally, I'm leading a team and trying to keep the vision of the company top of mind. You're doing the same. So I'm going to ask you to read your label. So how do you manage or shift gears from, hey, right now, I've got to get my team together.
Yeah.
I got to get off this call and now get on with a client and get them back engaged or get them moving down the right path. How do you manage that?
Well, I think it's this whole idea of like front stage, backstage, and really having, well, Kevin, just me personally, my unique ability is not managing. I'm a great, that's just the truth, right? And so I'm just going to tell the truth, right? So it's not managing, but having another team member that really is that implementer, that integrator for us, that I can just communicate, and she just manages the team, and then I can step in and lead and set direction and set vision. But as far as managing, it's not my unique ability. So I think building a structure, and I think that's the key, Kevin, building a structure that fits your own personal unique ability, right? And so I think because a lot of times there's all these different structures in business. And I think we take these, okay, I'm going to do it like this. Well, you have to do it like you. You have to do it according to you. And if it's a unique ability.
Well, that's what people would call authenticity, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it's a kind of a buzzword, but it really is true. And people can smell if you're trying to fake it or you're trying to do it the standard way. In fact, I remember the first time I went to Strategic Coach.
Yeah.
And now amplifying it through you and your team helping us. I specifically went to not look and sound like every other financial advisor. In fact, I was kind of disgusted at the time with what we had become because we were kind of product people. This was many years ago before we founded KDI Wealth. And it was kind of like, I don't want to talk about a mutual fund again. I don't want to explain how a stock works. What I want to do is look at where you want to go and really talk about how we get there. And the way and the tools that we use really should be only known to us. You don't really need to know the tools.
Right.
You need to know how you get there.
And I think, having that whole holistic idea, like with your clients and really determining like, hey, where do you want to go? Because I'm sure you've seen this, Kevin. It's just like you're unique and KDI is unique. Well, every client is unique.
Of course.
Right. And so they want to go here, but the path to get there is probably 5 or 6 different ways according to passions, desires. And this is where like sometimes the cookie cutter.
Yeah.
And what I've realized, like, Kevin, I don't like cookie cutter. No. I love it customized.
Everybody does. I mean, nobody wants to. I mean, if you felt like I could walk into, let's say Nordstrom's.
Yeah.
We'll make it simple. And I go in and I say, hey, I'm looking for a new look. And the lady behind the counter takes me and puts me in the same outfit she just put the guy before me in.
Yeah.
I'm not going to feel special about that. I'm not going to feel like I got a unique experience. And I'm going to walk out into the mall and there'll be 100 people just like me.
No, nobody likes that. Well, and it's almost like, Kevin, your value is in your difference, not in your sameness. Right? I've been married so we're celebrating our 33rd wedding anniversary tomorrow, January 19th. We're recording this on January 18th. And I was thinking about it. I married my wife because she was different, not because she was the same.
Sure.
Right? It's like she was totally unique, totally different than any other woman I've ever met.
Yeah.
And so I think sometimes there's this comparison, right? Sameness. I'm trying to be, and then I compare. It's a no-win game.
Yeah.
Because I can't compare myself to you. You can't compare yourself to me. We're completely different.
Yeah, and it's funny because it gets thrown around so much that you're not in competition with anybody but yourself. But I mean, we both know to some degree that's hogwash because we are in competition with our competitors. But at the same time, there's some real reality to that. Like the more we get contemplative, the more we look at ourselves, the more we understand ourselves.
Yeah.
The better we are to our own selves.
Right.
Coin a current term, that self-love,
right.
Which kind of makes me
vomit
in my mouth.
right.
But
that's a different podcast.
Like really knowing ourselves And then knowing our team, knowing our family, knowing our clients, it's the better we get at being introspective and saying, why did I do that? How could I have done that better? And not in a beat up, negative way, but in a what were my strengths and when was I using my strengths? When did I, maybe go down a road that I should have let go, like managing?
Yeah.
When I should have been visioning.
Yeah. Well, it's almost like self-knowledge is more important than task knowledge. Mm-hmm. And so really like knowing yourself, because the reality is, Kevin, what I do flows out of who I am. And so a lot of times, like, I want to do this, I want to do this, but who are you becoming? Yeah. Right? Because if I become that person, I'll just do those things. And so, especially we're kind of in the beginning of the year where it's like everybody's setting goals. Well, a lot of people, they just set to-do goals. I'm going to do this. I'm going to lose this weight. I'm going to gain this money. I'm going to do it. But how many people sit down and set becoming goals? Like at the end of the year, like who do I want to become?
Who do I want to be?
Yeah. Who, because if I can be that person, then I'm just going to do those things.
I love that.
And so I think it's a bigger idea. It goes back to like transformation or transactional, right? If I'm just setting these goals, I'm transactional. But the better thing is, how do I transform?
Become something different.
Yeah. And then even like the best leaders are more transformational than transactional. Like they step back and they help their teams and they just don't go, okay, go do this, go, and given all these commands and tasks, but they step back and go, okay, who do you need to become?
What's interesting is I just read an article and then 2-3 days later read a similar article. And I thought this was something that I did that was unique.
Right.
And then I found out it's not. A couple different CEOs had professed that in the morning they do a self-evaluation.
Yeah.
And they say, where am I on a scale of 1 to 10?
Yep.
If I'm a 1 to 2, I'm staying in my office. I'm going to be very lack of visibility in the organization. Yeah. I'm going to hunker down and do planning and do things that I can do on my own. If I'm a 3 to 7, I'm going to be partially visible. I'm going to be moving around the community of my peers, talking to clients, doing those things that where they can see my energy. If I'm hyper energy, once again, I probably need to watch what I say because I might just be so excited that I share things that aren't going to happen.
Right.
Because I'm sharing my vision. Our marketing person here, Michelle, has a sticker on her computer and it says, "Is this an idea or an action?" And it's
great.
Specifically for me.
Yeah.
So when she talks to me, when I finish, she says, "So is that an idea or an action?" I said, "No, it's just an idea right now."
Well, Kevin, and isn't it true? And I think sometimes with visionaries and quick starts, it's like ideas are simple, they're easy. Like I'll have 100 ideas today.
Right.
Probably none of them are going to be any good, but I guarantee you I'll be excited by about 10 of them.
Yes.
Right. Out of the 100, I'll be real excited about 10 of them. And probably out of those 10, none of them are going to happen anyways. But also having those people in our lives that can really kind of help filter that.
And we're probably similar in that mine's my wife. Carrie she's the antithesis of me. She thinks things through like 99.9%. I think I'm through 50.
Yeah.
Not wealth management, of course.
Right.
But ideas for the firm or marketing and things like that. And she'll say, maybe we should slow that down. Let's give this a little more thought. I'm like, but I'm so excited.
Yeah.
Well, clearly you're excited. And I don't want to kill that, but let's talk through it.
Well, and this is where even tools like Working Genius really help, right? So I'm, invention and galvanizing. So the tough with invention and galvanizing is as soon as I have an idea, I want to galvanize it.
Yeah.
And just realizing, okay, that was just the idea, and having this wonder discernment phase, which is I've got a couple of team members that just play that role really well, where I'll take the idea and they'll just wonder and discern it before it ever gets to galvanizing.
That was a really cool thing that you did with us. Is we've done the Colby, we've done the PI, we've done Enneagram, and and then you get to this Working Genius, and we have always hired to our weaknesses. The first weakness, I hired my first person, and I said, "This, I'm not good at this. I need you to do this." And then as we both grew, we said, "We need somebody else, and here's what we're not good at."
Yeah.
And now in that Working Genius, and you have the cogs in the wheel that
it's fascinating assessment.
We have somebody in every spot.
Yeah.
And we're all different with intention.
Yeah.
But the thing that I think that you brought to the table was it doesn't just tell you where to make sure you're involved. It also tells you where to get out of it.
Absolutely. Well, I have a team member that her frustration is invention, which means she is never in the brainstorming meeting.
Because
she's going to try to discern it and go, okay, enablement, tenacity. Yeah. And it's like, hey, we're just like throwing stuff against the wall for a minute.
And she's trying to make it happen already.
Right. Well, now here's what's fascinating, Kevin. You'll find this fascinating. And I don't know how it works with you and Carrie. We'll just kind of open the kimono a little bit.
Yeah.
So when we did this, we realized that my frustration is tenacity and enablement. Now, the tough part about my marriage is my wife's frustration is tenacity and enablement.
Oh my goodness.
So literally, Kevin, we have so many like projects that we have started that just are never finished.
Yeah.
Right. It's like I probably have 50 projects from the garage to the, even the hot tub. We started this with the hot tub. We still got to drain it. We didn't. And we started the process, but we never finished it through.
Oh my goodness.
Probably shouldn't say this on YouTube, but hey, it's out there, right? It's real stuff.
It's real.
Right? It's real.
I mean, we can, let's not fake it.
But it even like, we've seen like with our teamwork in our marriage, just how we need to put almost like other people in our lives and friends around us that like have tenacity and enablement,
to keep you accountable almost.
Yeah. And almost like to help us like follow through.
Yeah.
Because we're real great at starting. We're the best starters you've ever met.
Well,
not so good finishers.
Yeah. Carrie's follow through is really good. That's where, we're probably just a little bit different is Carrie will make sure it gets done.
Yeah.
And I'll say, gosh, I'm so tired of working on this. And the other thing she does is she sees patterns.
Yeah.
It's really bizarre. She can come in and look at a process or a system or even something around the house and say, this isn't working.
Yep.
If we do this, this, and this, it's going to go a lot smoother. It's going to go a lot better. And sure enough, it does.
Fascinating how that
works. Totally crazy.
Awesome. Well, this has been great, Kevin. I mean, I think my big takeaway in just thinking about this is really getting clear on just who I am, what I'm gifted at, and just continuing to build a unique organization.
Yeah, for sure. Let me just, because we have you on, I always like to, if I have anybody on and somebody's interested, I always want to give them a way to get to you.
Yeah.
If somebody wanted to reach out to you at Leadership Development Group, what would they do?
Yeah, it's leadershipdevgroup.com, leadershipdevgroup.com, and find us on the socials. And I'll throw up my personal email.
Yeah.
Is dennis@leadershipdevgroup.com. So you can reach us there, and we'd love to chat with you.
And we're KDI Wealth. Thanks for joining us for another podcast.
Thanks.